we're a sporting nation, sportsmen, the Irish people, and they had nothing to tag on to 91, and they were reaching out for something, and Dublin Meath got them into Gaelic football.
I think the games we had with Meath in the late 80s didn't do anything for the GAA. They were bad advertisements because there was a lot of off the ball stuff going on, and some things that we can't really be proud of. But I think when we look back now, we'll say we left a great legacy behind us in these 4 games.
All the players involved, you know what I mean, there's 64 or 5 players that were involved, their names will be etched in stone because of what they did, you know, for Gaelic football. And I think they just brought it to a new league. You felt that you weren't worthy Leinster champions if you hadn't played Dublin, and that was it. And it meant more to an awful lot of the players, even than actually winning the All-Irelands and being involved in the All-Ireland, because it was their supporters and our supporters. Whereas when you reached the final stages, you had people from everywhere there. But this was local.
I think it may have been, I could be corrected on this, the first time that there was an open draw in Leinster in a considerable period of time. And over the past number of years, we had met Meath in Leinster finals, and this was the first time in a long time that we were going to meet them in the first round.
It was unusual, a first round, but there was no doubt about the rivalry was so intense between the teams at the time and the players, you know, individually. It was something I haven't experienced ever.
The 11 counties went into a hat, and we needed 3 preliminary round games to reduce the competition to 8 teams, and as luck would have it, in one of the preliminary round games, Dublin were drawn against Meath.
You were literally getting, as a preliminary round in a provincial championship, you were getting really the All-Ireland final between the 2 best teams around, as it was at the time.
Drawn against Meath in the first round, it's always daunting, because you always like to, I don't mean get a soft county, but you just like to get a warm-up of a game and then see how things are going, and hopefully get 2 warm-up games.
I think it was daunting from the point of view that for a Dublin team, the possibility of being out of the championship in the first week of June was an overbearing thought.
Meath were beaten finalists the previous year and had won 2 All-Irelands in the years just before that.
So the cup, which was shown off for the first time in 1928, is scoring to Meath. McLean's the captain.
The fact that they were the All-Ireland finalists and were the most successful Leinster team, I mean, it was going to be quite a challenge.
We played Leinster finals against Meath in 86, 87, 88. I think in all 3 of them we were narrowly enough beaten, but deservedly beaten. I don't think our team was ready really to beat Meath.
You knew that Meath always had their homework done, that you were always up against a real battle. I was never afraid of them, but I think you prepared better, you know, when you're meeting Meath than, I suppose, any other team in Leinster at the time.
When I got on the team, first of all, you know, Meath had lost to Dublin for 20 years, and Dublin was the ultimate, they were the ultimate opponent. So while we really singled them out and, you know, developed a real desire to beat them, our respect for Dublin was always massive.
Dublin had a superb squad. If we weren't around at that time, Dublin probably would have won the couple of All-Irelands we had won. So I'd say there was a feeling that if we weren't there, they would have been doing an awful lot better than they had.
There was no doubt they were an exceptional football team. They were full of talent all over the field. But we felt we were a good team also. And we had a new management team in place that year, Paddy, Cullen and co, and we just won the league. We felt we were improving all the time, and I think we were ready for the Meath challenge.
We were a group who were on the road for, you know, a long time, and we've been winning and losing, but mostly winning for 5 years. You know, 6 or 7 Leinster titles, All-Irelands. So the group were at an end, and it was beginning to peter out. Some lads were going to retire. I was going to retire in my own mind. McLean was going to retire. Jerry Mack was going to retire. Other lads like Rocky and Liam Harnan and Bernie Flynn and Bob O'Malley, they were going to go on, but they were on their last legs.
These guys were probably the greatest Meath team that ever walked. They'd won 2 All-Irelands in 87, 88, back-to-back All-Irelands. Very hard achievement. to accomplish, and they had done it. They were a very strong team, big team.
You know, there were very strong characters in the field, you know, on the team, sort of like the mix of Mickey McQuillan and Bobby O'Malley and Mick Lyons and Liam Harn, right through to Bernie Flynn, the whole way through the field. And you also had Liam Hayes was captain that year, and Liam, you know, was leading by example. He wanted so much, and he was getting annoyed and vexed with the lads because they weren't like putting it in to the same extent in training.
I went for about 2 weeks with Colin O'Rourke, who's my closest friend, my teammate from Screen, my parish, my closest friend, like a big brother to me. And I went through 2 weeks with him where we just were at each other's throats, where I was in the middle of games, shouting him out of it, asking him to do more. And we didn't talk for about 10 days before the first Dublin match, Colin and I, which again seems strange, but it was, emotions were very high.
They had a very good team individually, and they were very strong as a unit. Also, they were very strong on the sideline, obviously in Sean Boylan and Selectors. And there was a load of elements to get over. So, on the build-up to these games, both set of teams, you know, had to look for that edge.
As to the team news, Leinster champions Meath relocate last year's team captain Colin O'Rourke and nominate him to lead their attack on the 40. Moving into the firing line on the fringe of the square is Tommy Dowd, who takes up station alongside Brian Stafford and Bernard Flynn.
For the first game, we decided that because we had been seen in the league and the format we had in the league and the type of game we were playing in the league, you know, there was no point in showing your hand again, and maybe we'd chop and change a bit. When you sit around the table with, you know, the likes of Pat O'Neill and Jim Brogan and Fran Ryder and that, you know, we decided that we'd chop and change a little bit, just to not to upset the team, but the lads knew what we were doing, what we were about.
League victors Dublin sprung something of a surprise by choosing centre fielder Dave Foran at full forward, and in the reshuffle Jack Sheedy reverts to centre forward, while up front Vinny Murphy takes the right corner with Mick Galvin on the opposite flank.
The reason for putting Davy Foran at full forward was because of his aerial ability and his ability to match man to man with somebody of the calibre of Mick Lyons. Vinny was also very good at fielding balls, and he had good feet, so he could essentially concentrate on his main function up there was to win ball and score, because he had two very good feet.
In some ways I can understand why the management team sort of went with Dave Foran. He was a lot older and more experienced than that, but I still thought, you know, if they had put us in there and it failed, that would have been fine. Like, they could have gave me 20 minutes. Like, I played corner forward. I think I got a couple of points in the first game, but, you know, my confidence was sort of drained at that stage.
That was the backdrop to the Dublin match, and we went in very much to take the game and respond to the game and respond to Dublin, whatever they did. But in the background we knew they were fragile, and we knew we could beat them.
The referee is Tommy Carr from Kildare for this battle of the champions, League champions Dublin against the Leinster champions from Meath. That goes off the chest of Mick Lyons. Liam Harn and his cousin is waiting there for it to knock it into the middle of the field to Colin O'Rourke. And they're ahead of Keith Barr. Keary coming across to present the challenge. Laid on to Beggy. The return for O'Rourke to knock one invitingly in. Tails away.
First game was always that tight kind of hard tackling stuff.
Clark steadying himself, invitingly across towards Jack Sheedy, who moved into top of the right there for a moment.
It was more like a league final rather than a first round championship game, and that can often happen. You can't legislate for how a game is going to turn out, and I think possibly it turned out that way because both sides were quite tense and quite nervous of going out at the championship in the first week in June.
It's Dublin 1 point ahead.
It was physical, it was hard. The pace of the game was very, very high. I don't think it was the greatest game of football played that year, but there was an intensity to it that I hadn't experienced at inter-county level, certainly in the league prior to that.
Fisted down. Colin Carr to Jack Sheedy. It invitingly in. And it's a goal! A goal for Dublin. A mistake in the Meath defence. Mick Galvin may well take the credit.
Jack Sheedy hit in a kind of a half ball into the square, and Robbie O'Malley spilled it into the net, which was a great start for us.
In fairness, Robbie O'Malley came across to cover it and deflected. Mick Galvin just knocked it in with his hand.
We struggled badly in the first half, very, very bad. Dublin were in every department, were virtually winning all ball. They probably should have been ahead more at half time.
Dublin were 5 or 6 points up, and I said, this is close to the end, even though it was only in the first half. But things happened. I mean, even as, for instance, even though Colin O'Rourke and myself hadn't been talking, literally had not been talking for 10 days, in the first half, Colin won a ball inside about 30 yards out from their goal, and in a move that we had done 100 times for a screen in our own parish, I just worked off him. I went in on the blind side. He had no reason to see me, but he knew I was there. He passed the ball to me, and I was fouled for a penalty. That saved us in that first half, for instance. So little things like that happened, and it was almost like automatic pilot they happened.
Brian Stafford against John O'Leary. He's curled it in. An expertly taken penalty.
Free taking of Brian Stafford. You know, it was just phenomenal, and he was just like the unsung hero. He was the only scores we got in the first half came from Brian.
So at the start of the second half, Meath forced into change. Sean Kelly here has gone into midfield. PJ Gillick has gone full forward. Tommy Dowd is left half forward, and Bernard Flynn here and Brian Stafford have switched wings. That's Colin O'Rourke. They look for the first score of the second half. They failed to get it.
For 15-20 minutes the second half, we played like the Meath team could play.
The midfield player back there helping his full back line is robbed by David Beggy, and it's Tommy Dowd who kicks it, and he puts it over the bar.
Myself, maybe Brian, a few fellas got on top of our men at that time. We started to win a lot of ball around midfield, Liam Hayes in particular.
10.5 minutes remaining. Superbly fetched again by Hayes.
In the second half we won a lot of ball. We won a lot of ball in the middle of the field, and we got enough ball in. And we should have won the match because PJ's very last strike, should have gone in.
1-12 for Dublin, 1-11 for Meath. The winners to place Wicklow in 2 weeks' time.
My abiding memory of the first game was that I cannot understand, and could not till I got home that night and saw the Sunday game, I cannot understand how PJ Gillick's shot didn't go into the net.
PJ Gillick kicking, Dowd is in there, and it's hopped high and it's hopped over the bar. They're level, and PJ Gillick.
But luckily for us, luckily for Dublin, hopped over the bar.
The ball bounced over John O'Leary's back and over the crossbar. Very lucky. I mean, it was only easily inches from going into the roof of the net. So, I mean, there was a bit of... We could have been easily out of the championship at that stage.
That is it. An unsatisfactory position for the fans, but they'll have to come back again, as Dublin and Meath will have to resolve it on another occasion, perhaps next Sunday, because it ends here at Croke Park in front of over 51,000 people. Meath 1-12, still holding on to their Leinster championship from last year. Dublin 1-12.
For 20 minutes we played and got a draw for playing only 20 minutes football. But the team meeting after was pretty hectic. We hadn't played well, particularly in the first half, and we were quite annoyed with ourselves.
After the game, we would have said, OK, a draw against Meath any day is good enough. Sure, we could have won it, but sure, they would have said the same, they could have won it too. But I think it was a case of, OK, I think we're better than them. I think we've shown that today. Now we need to go out and do it again.
But Redmond have scored 7 points in all in the match. In need of attention. When he was one of the stars, he was at the receiving end of 3 very hefty challenges, that the latest, which has finally resulted in him having to be forced out of the game, which, as I said earlier in the match, is one of the failings of Gaelic football. The niggling fouls, the challenges that come in late and can injure a player, often force him out of work and might even force him out of football for a couple of weeks as well.
So there was a number of forced changes because of the time interval. But there was still a pool of players, so it was a time for some of the old stagers or veterans to come back in.
I think that the second match was, it wasn't really a game that I enjoyed. Not that you can enjoy any game from the sideline, but It was dogged. We played badly, and I wasn't very happy with it. But you know, when you get out of a game against Meath and you don't lose, I think it's a good day.
Barney Rock is the replacement for Charlie Redmond, who broke down in training on Thursday night, while Donald McCarthy comes in for the luckless Niall Guyden. This means that there are now 4 changes in the team from that which started 7 days ago. Paul Boylan comes into midfield to link up with Dave Foran. Rock and McCarthy started the half-forward line, while Kieran Duff is listed at left corner forward. As expected, provincial champions Meath also make a couple of positional switches following their fine second-half showing on Sunday last. Sean Kelly now remains in midfield, with PJ Gillick retaining the full forward berth and Tommy Dowd redeployed at left half-forward. Well, one thing which hasn't changed is the referee, and that is Tommy Carr from Kildare.
Tommy, as you say, was an up-and-coming referee. Had shown a bit of mettle in previous tough encounters in the club championship and in inter-county games, and we opted for him. Again, we didn't have a system that you changed the referee for replays, so when Tommy Howard's name went for the first game, he was then the appointed referee until that saga was finished.
I was delighted that they kept me in, and I think I grew with the players. They got to know me, and everyone involved were happy enough that, you know, I was the person that they wouldn't have changed. I don't think neither clubs or neither counties would have changed.
Dublin's 6-3.
Ironically for Dublin, 2 of the stars the first day, Charlie Redmond and Mick Galvin, were both injured. And in came 2 young fellas called Barney Rock and Kieran Duff. And Barney he scored points. No matter where he went, he couldn't miss. Do you know what I mean? But again, it was, imagine having those 2 players to bring in. So you were talking about great wise heads and great experience and so on.
We had played so well at midfield in the first match. The second match, we struggled badly around the middle third of the field.
Now Donald McCarthy here. Tight angle. And Jack Dublin certainly having the scoring openings.
But they're winning a lot of the ball at the moment around the middle of the field.
First match was my best match of the 4. My performances were poor after that.
Challenged by Bernard Flynn. Cut out here by Liam Hayes, man of the match last week.
Dublin, as happened in Dublin Meath matches, Dublin picked me out after that for special attention, in that they made sure that no balls came to me, no balls were kicked out in my direction for the next 2 matches. Dave Foran, who I was marking in subsequent matches, would take me out of the game for long periods, and I ended up marking him foolishly for long periods.
Cullen O'Rourke, a fine fetch. Hayes was looking for it. Pass delivered in towards Bernard Flynn, seeking to put Meath on level terms. Got their first scoring chance and they put it over the bar. The economical Bernard Flynn.
Things went well for us and they were playing catch up for a while, and it seemed to be in our hands to win the game, and Dublin were struggling.
Beggy carrying it forward. Transferred by Gillick to Beggy. Scoring chance here for David Beggy from 13 metres out. Hit raspingly over the crossbar. Brian Stafford, scorer of a goal and 4 points last week, on a day when his free taking was below his usual high standards, and he's curled this one in delightfully. Liam Hayes took up a good position. Kelly has gone forward and he taps it high and he put it over the bar. The wind, if anything, has freshened a little at the start of the second half. Remember, it's now supporting Dublin as Sean Kelly tries to hit that one forward towards Bernard Flynn, operating despite the number 15 on the right hand side up front. Kieran Duff. Paul Boylan seemed to elbow into the back of David Beggy as he released that ball. Again, it's hit hopefully forward. So it's now really up to Dublin. They have the initiative, they certainly have the wind, and they're bound to have a lot of possession.